What does my computer say? Welcome, everybody. We're so glad to have you here tonight. We need a roll call. Here. We have a need for an executive session tonight. Could I get a motion, please?
Yes, Madam President, I move the Board of Education recess into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss confidential employee matters to protect the privacy of the individuals discussed under the non-elected personnel exemption to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The board will return to open session at 6:01 in the boardroom. The superintendent and leadership staff are invited into executive session.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Dr. Bonebright,
Yes.
thank you. And the vote is open. Thank you. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you for our visitors who are here. We'll come back at 6:01 and we appreciate your patience. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience. We appreciate that. I believe it is time for our Pledge of Allegiance.
We are so excited to have the summer school site coordinators who are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So as we begin, I'll just bring the microphone. Oh, well, we want them to see you. Come on up here. All summer site coordinators and overseers of summer site coordinators. There you go. Great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for helping us with that. We appreciate all the company. I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Madam President, I move the board adopt the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? Dr. Schumacher?
The vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Mrs. Lister, do I have any public comments tonight?
We do not.
Thank you. Business by consent? Can I have a motion for business by consent?
Madam President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
Do I have a second?
Tatum?
Mr. Tatum? Do I have any questions or comments on the Dr. Bonebrake?
For nursing services at multiple schools. And they're to pay RNs and LPNs $46 an hour. There's a big difference between an RN and LPN. And I just wonder what medical services are being offered. The average LPN salary in the United States is about $25 an hour. That's a little bit of profit for Craig Home Care for what, 800 and some odd $1,000.
Ms. Wallace, would you have information about that? And if we need to gather more information from our nurse coordinator directly, I know we used to call Ms. Votter and we always had fun just waking her up and she would jump on the Zoom and be ready at a moment's notice all during COVID. Ms. Denman is new, Nurse Denman. And so rather than me calling her right now, if we can either pull that and bring that back, unless Ms. Wallace or Mr. Robbins, you have information, background that you'd like to give at this time.
I do not. I need to research it.
Okay, so I will reach out to Ms. Denman, and if you'd like to pull that item, and then Ms. Denman will be available at the next meeting to share a little bit about nursing services and the contracts and the pay and such. Is that satisfactory? All right.
Does that go well with the board?
Yep.
Ms. Lister?
And what number is that on your agenda?
15.2.
Mr. Munoz, did you raise your hand as well?
I had a question about the buses. Up to this, if I remember correctly, from the finance committee, we were leasing most of our vehicles. Is that right? Because it made sense financially. And then I see that we have purchasing of 2 buses. Is that still? It helped me to understand sort of the process of now we're purchasing 2 buses. Is that maybe just different funding source? I see it says it's SPED buses.
Yes, sir. That is a different funding source. I think what happened is it became more financially responsible and feasible to purchase the 2 SPED buses rather than to continue to lease those. I think in the summary, it gave I think total on what it would cost to continue that lease versus what they could purchase the buses for. And that's why the decision was made to reverse and change from a lease to a purchase for those two buses.
And that was something that just came up unexpectedly that
Yes, sir.
we don't expect for the other leases that we have for that to occur. Is that?
That's true, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Do I have we've already done our motion, so we need our vote.
Yes, we're ready for a vote. The vote is open. And just to confirm, the motion now reads accept item 15.2, Craig Nursing. So,
Thank you.
all right, and all votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
And I have that contract probably in my packet. I'll need to look for. Okay, thank you. Superintendent's report. I'm kind of looking forward to this report.
Oh, we are so excited. Well, we're going to start off with a video because we love doing videos to bring children into this space, even when they are not here at the board meeting. This evening, we'll be talking about the strategic plan goal of achievement. And the summer enrichment program is the topic in the extended school year. So let's start off with the video.
We are having our academic and enrichment summer camps. It's hands-on. If you walked around this school or Shaner or TCalc, you see kids engaged, they're hands-on, there are small groups, they are creating, they are discovering. It's quite outstanding.
We have had hundreds of students that have come and they've been able to do reading, math, everything, enrichment. So just seeing students from all over Topeka that are able to get together and learn together and interact with one another, and they're just so excited to be here and be involved in our camps that it has been amazing to see.
This summer for summer enrichment, we had middle school students come and participate in a few of the pathways to just get a little taste of some of the stuff that happens in the pathways. I think they enjoy it because it's a lot of hands-on stuff. It's a lot of activities that keep them involved in things. They're pretty well involved and up and doing stuff the whole time that they're here.
The first day was auditions, like we read the specific script and then like they see where we can go and which show. And then the other days are blocking and memorizing, of course, and then finally the day.
So this week we're just doing yarn art and we're learning about how we putting plants in water without like soil or anything. And we get to observe how much they grow. Here you learn and you also do fun stuff.
My kids are glowing when they come home. They're always talking about how, they had so much fun, they're making a lot of friends. It being more than just the curriculum based, they have a lot of different activities, a lot of different experiences they can do. It's definitely helpful. I'm able to get a lot of appointments taken care of in the mornings, a lot of stuff done around the house, and not really have to think twice about it. Really big relief.
I cannot say thank you enough to all students, staff, family members, administration, district office that has helped put this together. It has been an amazing feat to put together of thousands of students each week that are coming in, getting them in safely, getting them home safely, all of the pieces every single day, ordering supplies. It has definitely been a Topeka Public Schools, everyone on board to help this be such a success this month, and I cannot say thank you enough to everyone that is involved for letting this happen.
All right, we're going to welcome our site coordinators to the microphone as they begin to share a little bit about the summer program. The PowerPoint that's coming up will walk you through the program. And I asked if the site coordinators themselves. So we have Dr. Mejia, who you've heard from at the very beginning about the summer programming, but then each site has a coordinator. So I think maybe Dr. Mejia might be kicking it off, perhaps to introduce them and to share a little bit, and then we'll turn it over to these amazing folks who helped run summer school seamlessly, our largest ever yet so far. Dr. Mejia.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. It's great to be here. And I would like to introduce to you Kate the Kale. This is an example of the hydroponics that the little girl was talking about. And you all have a copy of the magazine that was created in our Writing a Magazine camp, just as a souvenir. And a little memento from our camps, and some other artifacts that we have from our elementary art, and art history. These are fireworks. And they were created actually by Branley, Mrs. Baxter's daughter. We also have, I'm starting with the fun things here. This is crochet, and then from hydroponics and yarn art that this little girl learned how to do and was creating a piece of art. And some little friends with the yarn art here as well as a bouquet of flowers. With all this being said, we want to thank you, the board, and all of Topeka Public Schools for allowing us to offer such an amazing program to Topeka Public Schools students, to students around the community in Shawnee County. It has been an amazing experience for all of us. Thank you, Mrs. Wallace. And I want to personally extend a thank you to my super chicas, or my team behind here. We have Dr. Neuroth, who participated as a teacher, and to all of the staff, every single one of them, because they brought in joy, they brought expertise, they brought commitment and amazing experiences. We created this huge school for 1 month, joining forces from everywhere, and we could not be more pleased with the results. So thank you. We'll see. Challenge accepted. All right. I'm going to now summarize some of the things that we have accomplished since 2007, when Dr. Anderson started this whole process. Thank you. And how much we have grown. So as you see, over time, we started in 2017. And this year in particular, I want to showcase how we had 230 plus certified classified staff and student helpers participating. And a change from last year, which we had the sites only, like the academic and the enrichment separate, we blended this year for multiple reasons, including being able to offer transportation to anyone who signed up and registered for 4 weeks of camp. So that allowed more scholars to participate in the enrichment camps, as well as have the academic and enrichment together, so that nobody was confined, for lack of a better word, to one or the other, as families want and need both. Oh, I went back, I'm sorry. Growth over time. I'm not reading this to you because you're all very good and avid readers, but I do want to highlight how we had over 1,100 scholars register, which was unexpected and certainly celebrated. And we had 46 offerings of camps this summer. So it was huge and beautiful, and just a wonderful learning experience for me personally, as I had never, I guess, directed an endeavor such as this one. But none of it could have happened without all of the teams that were involved, from Mrs. Kramer to, of course, Mrs. Wallace, and everybody, people in teaching and learning. It was an all hands on deck, labor of love. These are some of the new camps that we offered: cooperative learning through games and sports, engineering design process, which was, the focus on a treehouse engineering, exploration adventures, where scholars got to go fishing. They went to Iliff Commons, they did orienteering. Of course, hydroponics and yarn art, which has been kind of a giggly thing, because what do those things have in common? But, we made it work. And technology and the outdoors through movement. And of course, our Shaner and Sheldon camps that were run at Shaner. I'm going to pass it on to Mrs. Baxter so she can speak of what happened, the magic that happened with the little ones.
Good evening.
So I'm Mrs. Baxter, principal at Shaner. I had the privilege of working with 48 early childhood scholars at Shaner Early Learning Academy. It was a combination of both Shaner students and Sheldon students. And we had a wonderful time. So when we were planning our month, we came up with themes. So Monday was Music Mondays. Tuesday was Tasty Tuesdays. We did cooking with them. Wednesdays were STEAM. Thursdays were art, and then we had Fun Fridays. So then from that, we planned different themed days. So last Tuesday, we did camping with s'mores, and students were able to bake and cook s'mores. We've had a water day. We had field day where they were participating in cooperative play games where they had to work together as a team to do activities, parachutes, relays. Pizza day, that was just this past Tuesday. They were able to, we had a read aloud and they made their own pizzas, even making the dough. So that was an experience, definitely enrichment for many of our scholars. Blockfest, they spent time building with various blocks, definitely a science, technology, engineering, and math activity. And then another cooking day was ice cream day. So they hands-on making ice cream in a bag, which again, another wonderful enrichment opportunity for them. So we've had a great time. We are sad that tomorrow is our last day.
I want you guys to go and speak about our Jardine experience. Because Jardine was so big, the slides that you saw at the beginning contain the activities or examples of activities that happened there. So we don't have one specific slide for Jardine, but I would like to hear your voices on that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And
There
we'll go
was-
back to the Jardine page. TCalc is a self-explanatory page, which we'll conclude with that, but we'll go back to some of those pieces. And you can go right on ahead. And Ms. Soderlin, can you share where you are normally as well and what you two both do?
I'm Miss Soderlin. I am the assistant principal at Jardine Elementary.
I'm Whitney Scott. I was at Jardine for many years and I'm moving to Williams as a SPED CT.
So we had a wide range. As you can see, the largest amount of students were at the Jardine site. We had everything from drama and theater, a lot of coding and robotics, pre-K all the way up through high school. We had a lot of different art throughout the time. And we also had some preschool camps that then rotated each week as well for different experiences.
Yoga. They did
Navigating
yoga and
nature.
music. Yep. One of the awesome things is going out, like Dr. Mejia said, they got to do hikes around Topeka and be able to go learn how to fish and all that. And I think those are all things that they would have maybe not had that opportunity to do prior. And so having those 4 weeks and being able to do that was really an awesome experience for them.
Mrs. Scott, would you like to elaborate on the geography and art camp? Because there was something that really tickled you.
It did. I loved it. So the geography and art, each week they focused on a different continent or something to really understand the world around them. And so I loved that 1 week they went to the zoo and they painted the water storm drains. And so they got to be part of that. And so I think that's really awesome that they get to go look in their community and see what they have added colorful to our community. So I loved that.
As we prepare to open this up for questions, were there academic, math, and literacy camps? Was there anything bilingual, Ms. Soderlin?
Oh, yes, there was all of that. There was specific math camps, again, all the way through the grades, as well as then reading camps all the way through the grades. We had a specific reading Spanish camp. We had newcomer camp for anyone that was coming in. And then we also did have a bilingual Spanish camp. So on top of all of the academics and enrichments, you could have walked around and seen just about everything when you're at Jardine on both sides of the campus throughout the last 4 weeks. Oh, we did. ASL as well. That's what throughout the weeks they changed. We had Native American camp the first week. So sometimes that's why it's hard because each of the weeks provided sometimes the same things, but also then sometimes different things to give different experiences.
I'm going to open this up to the board for any questions or comments that you'd like to make about the enrichment experience this summer.
Do we have any questions from the board? Dr. Bonebright.
I think it's wonderful the way it is growing. And do the students get any credit hours in the higher levels?
Yes, we're going to turn it over to Ms. Wallace to talk about secondary, which takes us back to TCALC and credit recovery. Ms. Wallace?
Could you?
Absolutely. We had some great numbers at secondary as well. So at TCALC, we had 7 students participate in our newest pilot with phlebotomy through Stormont Vale. So they're finishing up through July and they will be able to work as phlebotomists. We also then had 496 high school students participate in extended learning opportunities. That included credit recovery and acquisition. So 523 semester courses were recovered. That's pretty exciting. And 112 semester courses of acquisition. Acquisition would be courses that they had not previously taken. So these were new courses that they just now won't have to take during the school year. Sometimes if they're in debate or band or other things, it interferes with some courses they can take. So this allowed them to take some courses in advance of their school year.
Ms. Wallace, doesn't this also allow for young people who want to finish early, who only have 1 or 2 classes, they could take them this summer and be on track for the December graduation?
Yes, absolutely. And we also have some students who maybe walked in the spring but didn't quite finish. And so they have the opportunity to finish up credits. And the numbers that I shared with you are just the numbers as of today. I was reminded by Mrs. Riley that they still have 25 kids working on courses that aren't completed, as does Topeka West and Highland Park. So they will be finishing even more classes through the month of July on their own. So, and then to speak to some of the things that went on at TCALC, we had middle school students participating in pathway adventures. We wanted them to get a peek at what those pathways looked like so that when they get to high school, they might be more inclined to participate in those. And they were very well attended. And you can see we had 6 pathways that offered opportunity. And those were also, they allowed for some community business partnerships. They visited, a veterinarian office or a restaurant to look at it from behind the scenes. So they had a lot of opportunities to see how what they were learning applies to the real world.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Munoz and then Mr. Tatum.
Yeah, first off, I just want to thank everybody who helped put these programs on. It is an incredible lift, especially having things at Jardine where I was dropping off my students and picking them up, and there were umpteen amount of staff it takes to be able to move everybody through quickly and most importantly safely. And so thank you all for your work, not just at Jardine but at all of the sites. My question is: it sounds like there's so much sort of creativity that's going into sort of keep making sure that kids are learning, but also that we're doing it in creative ways. What are areas that you think that you'd like to see sort of build on in the future?
Definitely, we are reflecting on the camps this year and looking at how we want to change them for next year in terms of the best pieces of them to move scholars forward. Even though each of the enrichment camps tied academics to them, in the cooking class, kids cooking was a huge camp. There's the math involved, there's the reading involved, and this was explicitly talked about during the classes. So we just want to make sure that these are skills that kids can take further, home and share with family and continue to explore, not just something that stays in the camps. So that is our ultimate goal. It's long lasting learning. And opening children's minds to experiences that they have never had the opportunity to have and interests beyond.
Now, since we've had so many students this year, we'll send out a survey that asks parents, what would you like to have been offered that hasn't been offered? What was a camp that you would have loved more time with? One of the items with theater that a few families and the instructor, talked a little bit about was that's such a great camp, but it's hard to memorize lines in a week. So having maybe the 2-week, intense piece. And so just hearing those, and that's just me hearing it, talking to people, but in terms of just surveys, her success was phenomenal. I mean, doubling the enrollment is unusual at best. So to see that double enrollment, I'm just curious as to why was that? What drew you this year? And then what'll have you coming back? So that'll be a new added piece that we don't normally do, that we will do this year.
Well, I just again want to thank you all for your effort. And I also, besides the enrichment, I had a chance to stop by some of the credit recovery courses. I think I stopped by Ms. Jones at Speckle West and a couple of others. And so just jumped in to get a sense of how those students are doing and the effort that we go to make sure that we don't lose any students and that there's an opportunity for them to sort of catch up, or as you mentioned, to be able to move ahead if they so choose. So thank you all for that.
Mr. Tatum.
So I too, like Mr. Munoz, I dropped my kiddo off at Jardine for the first 2 weeks and then one day last week. And then of course this week. And it's really been an amazing experience. I think Madison had it'll be interesting to find out which of her 2 experiences, either the cooking that she's had this past couple weeks or the drama class from the first 2, which of those she has enjoyed the most. But I would like to comment on and also maybe inquire about the logistics behind making this all come together. What I saw was the very first day was a train wreck. I think I was telling Dr. Kipp at the time, I waited in line for an hour before I was able to pick Madison up. What I saw after that was a very intentional reorganizing and looking at processes and tweaking them and making iterations so that what happened at the beginning of the week, it was completely different by the time the end of the week came. I also saw that evolution occur over the successive weeks. This week has been light years different from the very first week. So just wanted to, first of all, say kudos for you guys for making that come together and learning from some of those less desirable parts of the process, but also wanted to ask what sort of things are we likely as a district to do differently next time around based on the experiences that we've had this time?
So we do plan to have a debrief after the end of this week to kind of look at some of those things. We have considered a physical space and just having 1,000 kids in one location and perhaps spreading that out among multiple sites next year as one possibility to alleviate from the very get-go. But you are correct. I did the car line also.
Yes, you did.
And it got much better. And so I think that's a big chunk of it. Also, then we can also then perhaps spread it out and families can be at a school that is in their community as opposed to, or at least more in their community and not pull everybody. I think one of the things that created that, I won't call it a train wreck, a little bit of organized chaos on the first day was opportunity, was that we had teachers that have never taught in that building coming from all across the district We had kids coming from all across the district, and we had families that had never been to Jardine. So we met that afternoon and really reorganized, and that made a huge difference. So yes, and then the opportunity, I think, to provide transportation to kids who came all 4 weeks really increased the numbers. I know when we started planning this, Dr. Mejia and I met in April, and she said, there's a waiting list. And I said, well, we don't do waiting lists. And her eyes got really big. And I think that's when we realized that this was going to be bigger than it's ever been. And so now we have an opportunity to debrief and find some solutions.
Yeah.
And when she says
Excellent.
we don't do waiting lists, I mean, the philosophy behind this when we started this is if they come, we accept them. I mean, that's, so imagine if 600 more people showed up here. Well, if we doubled these numbers, maybe it wouldn't be as much of an issue, but, and being able to adjust as quickly was pretty remarkable to see that debrief each day, to see that level of adjustment. Now, just as a reminder, normally it's at Topeka High. That normally has 1,000 students in it.
That's right.
Air conditioning was occurring this summer, therefore we didn't have it at Topeka High. So that was the major difference with moving people. In addition to Topeka High, do you want to remind us last year where the other sites were?
So yes, last year we had Scott and TCalc and State Street. And those were the primary locations.
So really East Topeka and then Central Topeka was Topeka High where many of the camps occurred. So you can just imagine the way that felt being spread out in that way. So you'll see that adjustment in that regard, but it's wonderful to hear from the opportunity the first day
Yes.
to what you're seeing the second day, the second week, even the fourth week is really commendable for the team to have just continued to have this opportunity for a reflective practitioner space and for really an outcome that I think they're all pleased with.
Yeah, good. Yeah, absolutely pleased myself. Congratulations to all of you who worked on this.
Thank you. Yes, we were really attentive to the feedback, and we are all reflective practitioners. So we would debrief every day to see what have you heard, what do we know, what did we see, and how can we improve. I want to clarify on the waiting list. If anybody did not register by the deadline, we did start a waiting list. And as we monitored attendance, we brought kids from the waiting list. So everybody who registered, which was the 1,100 plus scholars from the waiting list, all of them were eventually admitted. So we're very excited and proud of that.
I would add another real takeaway from this was watching the kids learn and meet standards. So it was a very standards focused learning opportunity, but also very hands-on and fun. And so I think everybody I've talked to, I've said we need to figure out how we bring more hands-on, fun engagement into our standards instruction during the school year.
Thank you. That was the question I had. So I'm glad to hear that we are trying to process that. Mrs. Schmidt?
All right. So thank you for all your work on this and all the teachers who gave up their time and listening to everybody talk about how amazing it was and seeing the statistics on the growth. That leads me to thinking to next summer. And if we continue the trend, how do we face any challenges finding teachers that want to come and give up 4 weeks of their time or longer if it involves planning to do this? How do we cover those costs? Is that something we're going to need to be thinking of if we continue to grow at this rate?
Yeah, Ms. Wallace, you want to talk about that? Because a lot of this is ESSER funded.
So yes, so the scale in which we've created is ESSER funded, and the ability to attract our teachers is that we paid them at their hourly rate to teach during the summer. And so that will be a challenge after next summer. So we have one more summer of ESSER funded summer opportunity. And then it will get a little bit harder.
However, we have been, we've had the foresight to look ahead and purchase materials that are long lasting because teachers have had a wish list to produce, and make their camps or schools as engaging and, creative as possible, hands-on. So looking at what's to come, we've had that vision of how can we make this last so that, when ESSER funds are over, we don't want it to be a blah, blah, blah camp. We have all that, all the materials and teachers, give me a thumbs up or down. Dr. Neuroth, was it a good experience for you? She said she didn't want to talk, but she's amazing, as is her teammate and all the teams. So they have all shared about the great experience. We have heard their feedback as well and adjusted. So we hope that having had this experience and at Shaner and TCALC, they are pumped and know better what it is to come so that we can recruit. I'm going to start recruiting super early next year and getting this huge machine going from very early months. I'm thinking September and I'm not kidding. So, all right. Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question as Ms. Schmidt, as far as the obstacles, but then also how do we, as another parent of a student who was in the summer, you turn to page 22, there's a minor celebrity interview by Lucy Schumacher. I heard about this is very exciting because it's an advanced copy. And won't get this until tomorrow, I think. But I heard about this for 2 weeks at the dinner table every night. And I think, these are the things that change paths. And my daughter, who never would think about wanting to do something like this, I'm now pushing her towards Mr. Garcia and trying, journalism is an amazing thing that is very important and people do it every day. And so I don't really have a question, but I do want to say thank you. And that I think this is, as a board member, as a parent, as a community member, I think it's important for us to continue to try to enrich every day during the school year, but then also offer these opportunities that help that father who needs 3 hours so he can do the normal things each day. So thank you.
I hope you understand what you did for our community and that you will thank all of your instructors that were there this summer, that this was a big project and it touched so many lives in our community. So we really appreciate every bit of it. We thank you. We thank the people who organized this. When the numbers came in, I saw a lot of eyes that were really big and oh no, we had no idea. So it was a gift to our community, and I hope you share that with your staff, that we see that. I think the community, you heard some parents that saw that gift as well. And so thank you all very much. And thank you for the report, the update. We appreciate it.
That concludes our summer report. The nice piece about this, and I think maybe there was I don't know if there was a question. Are you scratching your head, Dr. Bonebreak?
As you're, yeah, both.
I'm
As you're
sorry,
all
I did
aware-
not see your hand.
As you're all aware, we've been trying to talk about year-round school, not just extending the 180 days, but this is one of those baby steps that maybe if we can show a progressive interest and it can continue to grow and see benefits from it, that maybe we can convince our legislature not to try to destroy public schools. But it's just great to see this way it's progressive and developing. Let's see what next year does. I wish we had more ESSER dollars.
Thank you all. We are down to, I just lost part of my glasses, so bear with me. Board comments and committee reports. Dr. Bonebreak. You want to raise your hands?
Well, the
Respect
committees
that.
haven't met yet, and I just finished my comment. So, Dr. Schumacher. Sorry.
Caught me off guard. I really don't have much more other than more thanks for the summer camps and figuring out ways to continue. And on that note, I did get an email today from my employer that the phlebotomy students at TCALC need people to practice on for their certification. And well, I think there's still some of that, but I'm going to be a humid subject July 19th or something. It's like a Wednesday morning. But if anybody here is interested, just let me know and I can help sign you up, because there's a lot of students at TCALC trying to get that certification, which is a great, in our profession, in the medical profession, phlebotomy is a great step in the door. And then it opens a lot of other doors. So I think it's a great thing that we're doing for our students. And if anybody has really good veins, let me know.
Mr. Tatum.
I don't think any committees that I am on have met since we had our last board meeting. So I've given thoughts and feedback on the summer school endeavor. I think that may end up being an issue that gets pretty near and dear to my heart. So I'll definitely be interested in tracking the summer school progress as we move forward.
And if I may, while not a committee, it was wonderful having you at the budget planning piece as a finance member attending the budget workshop. Was that last week?
Oh, that's right.
It
Yes.
was last week.
Thank you. That was, it feels like it was longer ago. It was last week. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was a good experience. I learned a lot from being at that budget workshop.
Thank you.
Mrs. Schmidt.
I don't think I have anything. I just want to thank you guys. Please pass our thanks on to everybody who gave up 4 weeks of their summer to make sure that our kids, got unique experiences as well as help curb that learning loss that we know exists over the summer months. I hope that everybody recharges for the next, you don't have quite 4 weeks, do you? 3 weeks maybe before you come back, and everybody has a wonderful holiday.
Keep your fingers. Mr. Munoz.
No committee meetings. I think we'll start up again in July, right? July for policy committee. I did have the opportunity to be at the governor's Kansas Early Childhood Task Force group that got together to talk about early childhood education earlier today. And I learned a lot about childcare providers and sort of the nuance that exists in terms of being able to provide that service for our families who need that in order to be able to, go to work and provide for the household, and is how complicated it is. So I enjoyed that. And hopefully, though, out of that effort will come recommendations that those in our government can use to sort of make things easier to be able to support our students, so that when we receive them in our offices at that young age, they're ready to be as successful as possible.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, I have a list. I'm sorry. I'll try to go fast. First off, the most response we have on our retreat is August 19th. So I'm hoping that August 19th will go into your calendar for a 2-hour retreat. I believe when I was gone, the decision was made that we would have Kansas School Board Association come in for the training. So put that on your calendar for Saturday morning. Thank you. Next, I wanted to talk about Keisha. Executive Board has come down with a vote on changing the state championship locations instead of having it so spread out. It will affect our high schools. Salina will have the 1, 2, and 3 Class A And Park City will have 4 or 5 and 6. So 3, the lower 5 and 6 are going to be at Park City and the others will be in Salina for some of our sports. So since I'm on the Acacia committee, I wanted to share that. We had 3 really excellent awards given to sports students in our district. So Ty Richardson received the all-time sports award for, I can't remember, of the year. He got the sports award of the year. T West Sports, Ian and Miles Cusick received Spring Male Athletes of the Year. And I know I'm not going to say this right, but Kenny, I can't say his last name correctly. I'm sure I can't. From Topeka West. Does anybody remember how to say his?
Lenny Nyo Roger.
Thank you.
Or is it-
Yes, something similar. Most inspirational male. And so they received all those awards last night at a sports banquet from Kansas. So we're just really proud to put out such excellent young sports people that represent our district so well. One of the things I learned at the State Board of Education meeting that Kansas ranks number 17th in the nation for high quality post-secondary credentials. So Kansas is doing a really good job. And as we know, our district is adding to that data of doing a really nice job of that credentials in post-secondary. So we thank our district for doing such a nice job there. KSDE has been working on their school improvement presentation, and they presented 4 major concepts to achieve in their Kansas Can vision. And so if Mrs. Wallace will shake her head for the ones that I think we are already covering, that they, don't need to like push us forward. I think we are probably a step ahead. So structured literacy, shaking her head, yes. Balanced assessment to measure students on a variety of ways. She's shaking her head. Standards alignment in our classroom. She's shaking her head. And quality instruction to create high expectations for our instructors. And we know that our district expects a lot from our instructors and gives them lots of PDs to be those high quality instructors that they are. So we are already a step ahead, and KSDE might be knocking on our door to be that example. So also the final ESSER funding approval was given for Topeka Public Schools at the last meeting. And I wanted to bring up a campaign school mini session in Lawrence. If you're campaigning for an office for school board, is July 18th from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in Lawrence at Baker University Wetland and Discovery Center. If you're wanting more information on how to campaign effectively and efficiently, so that might be something of interest. So if we don't have anything else on our plates tonight, if I can have a motion for adjournment.
Madam President, I move the meeting be adjourned.
I'm assuming I don't have anybody voting against that. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you, teachers out there. What